before turning to the final report, I wanted to address a disturbing announcement that came out of Florida yesterday. Governor DeSantis has requested that the Florida Supreme Court convene a grand jury to, quote, investigate crimes and wrongs in Florida related to the COVID-19 vaccines and further recommend enforcement methods. On top of this, Governor DeSantis is forming a so-called Public Health Integrity Committee to oversee the medical establishment. Florida Surgeon General, a prominent critic of vaccine safety, will oversee this new Orwellian super committee. These actions are transparently designed to falsely suggest that coronavirus vaccines, and not the coronavirus itself, are dangerous. But these vaccines have saved millions of lives, yet some public officials are continuing to promote distrust, dangerous misinformation, and conspiracy theory.
This is Jamie Raskin showing why no Republicans want to get into his crosshairs. Now, there is a lot wrong here with what Ron DeSantis is doing, but this is what it looks like when Republicans take their COVID conspiracies to their illogical conclusion. That somehow the real issue here isn't the pandemic or the policies that allowed it to spread uninhibited, but rather the vaccine to prevent the pandemic. If you were wondering what brainworms look like as policy, you just got it. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into the COVID stuff because it's not worth entertaining this circus that even they know is complete bullshit, but I can say this. Let's take 1 month, March of 2022. The death rate for someone who's unvaccinated compared to someone who's vaccinated and boosted is 17 times higher. 17. So let's not pretend here that the COVID vaccine is in any way, shape, or form on any planet more dangerous than the virus that it protects against. Now, in terms of the Orwellian committee referenced by Jamie Raskin, this is what he was talking about. Here's Ron DeSantis and his quack Surgeon General discussing not only some bogus claim that mRNA vaccines are dangerous, but also the creation of a foil to the existing CDC.
So we are initiating a program here in Florida where we will be studying the incidence in surveillance of myocarditis within a few weeks of COVID-19 vaccination for people who die. This is going to be a surveillance study working with some of our medical examiners in Florida. We're also going to be working with the University of Florida, so there will be a component that has more of a research form to it. But we will answer this question. It is a question that I'm sure keeps the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna up late at night, hoping no one ever looks, but we're going to look here in Florida.
I think you've continued to see people in these bureaucracies and in this establishment behave in ways that have totally squandered any type of confidence or goodwill that people would have. And our CDC at this point, anything they put out, you just assume at this point that it's not worth the paper that it's printed on. And so it's not serving a useful function. It's really serving to advance narratives rather than do evidence-based medicine. And so in Florida, the Surgeon General actually has the ability to convene panels of experts to do various things. And so we thought it was important, particularly me talking with other governors, to say, okay, because CDC will say these things, and then people will think, well, because they're saying it, then we have to do it. And maybe not quite as much anymore because people have lost confidence, but you still see it. We had to fight it with the masking in the schools because the school districts were citing CDC as the reason why they wanted to do it. We had to come and overrule that, but it was difficult because they were being put as an authority, and some people were doing that. So other governors and I have talked about the need to have a panel of experts who can counteract nonsense when it's coming out of these institutions, that are not going to just go along with the flow and follow pre-cooked narratives, but will actually do evidence-based analysis. And so in Florida, we're creating what we're calling the Public Health Integrity Committee. It's a committee of expert researchers that will be able to assess recommendations and guidance related to public health and healthcare, but particularly being able to offer critical assessments of things that bureaucracies like the FDA, CDC, and NIH are doing. We know that there's been a lot of faith destroyed in public health. And I think that it's important that we have folks who people actually can rely on when they're looking to answers and when they're looking for guidance on some of these really, really important issues.
Yes, because what the CDC needed to increase trust in that institution was making it more Florida. Because nothing would make you trust medicine more knowing that the only people who had a say in regulating it were handpicked right out of the panhandle. What could possibly go wrong? And by the way, if you were wondering whether DeSantis was playing both sides of the coin here, you'd be right, because here was Ron before it became politically salient on the right to be anti-vax.
So my message is the vaccines protect you, get vaccinated, and then live your life as if you're protected.
Funny how things change the moment the political winds blow in a different direction. It's almost like, and I hope you're sitting down for this, Ron DeSantis doesn't stand for anything other than being a political hack. And all of this nonsense aside, let's talk for a moment about why Ron DeSantis and these Republicans are doing this. It's because they view this as a potent culture war issue. And remember, the only way that Republicans survive politically is through culture wars. And so especially after what amounted to a brutal midterm cycle for them, Republicans down in Florida took a long look at the issues that they felt would resonate the most. And what they landed on for the moment was relitigating the efficacy of vaccines. It was an issue that had virtually complete polarization along party lines. And so because everything comes down to politics for them, not human life, not health, not safety, but politics, this is how they're choosing to misuse their citizens' tax dollars, with a useless anti-CDC doing a special Florida science that will somehow show that a vaccine with a survival rate 17 times higher than those who don't take the vaccine is bad for you. How they plan on doing that is beyond me, but when it comes to finding people with enough lack of integrity and qualifications, it looks like this is just the group to do it. And consider too, this is effectively a microcosm of what nationwide Republican leadership would look like. After all, Ron DeSantis is one of the leading Republicans for the party's nomination in 2024, meaning you're looking at pseudoscience and sham investigations that fly in the face of objective reality. That's what you get with Republican leadership. Compare that with what Democrats have done in just the last 2 years, from climate funding to lower prescription drug costs to gun safety reforms to infrastructure spending to a manufacturing boom to reshoring hundreds of thousands of jobs, and it becomes pretty clear where you derive more benefit. So please, dear God, ignore Ron DeSantis' abject stupidity coming out of Florida, because it's clear that his political ambitions far outweigh the very real risks being posed to human lives. DeSantis may have decided that it's a smart play to his base to discourage vaccinations, even in the face of overwhelming, clear, objective evidence that they work, but it's the people who listen to him who are going to suffer the consequences. Do not let his ambition take precedence over your right to live. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.